Hey folks, this is Clayton Collins, your host for the Housing News Podcast and the founder and CEO at HW Media. Today's episode was one of those podcasts where I should have blocked my calendar for 2 to 3 hours. I was watching the clock tick as we got closer to 60 minutes. And I knew our guest, Mr. Marc King, the president of Keller Williams, had a meeting coming up, and I had to push along. So we got everything we could into an hour-long interview. We give you a little preview of the RealTrends rankings for 2022, the list that launches tomorrow. This is a monumental year for RealTrends rankings. We're seeing some big movement in the top brokerages, and Keller Williams has a pretty prominent spot on that list. This conversation with Marc doesn't just talk about their prominence in our rankings. I promise you that. We go into leadership, we go into technology. We talk about the strategies that Marc and Gary Keller are employing to grow their organization and how they're thinking about the organization in 1 year, 10 years, 30 years as they plan for a future that's increasingly tech-enabled and helps agents and other folks across the housing ecosystem create wealth. I hope you enjoyed this episode with Marc King, president of Keller Williams. Yeah, no, it is a pickle that we are in economically, and would not want to be in Chairman Powell's shoes either, though I would like to be a fly on the wall of many of the conversations that are going on last weekend and in this upcoming weekend. It doesn't seem like the news cycle is quite going to stop on bank pressure right now. But bringing it back to the agent. So outside of high interest rates and rapidly rising home prices and all the affordability challenges, we also see this trend where homeowners, potentially compounded by those indicators, or economic impacts, are staying in their homes longer. And we've seen the average years in home go from 5 or 6 up to 10 to 12, depending on the exact measure. How are agents managing that challenge and staying in touch with those 67 households per agent when homeowners aren't transacting as frequently as they were at one time or may at some point in the future?
That's a great question. So I think this is still a supply and demand business. And from a macroeconomic scale, what you see is like 2021, we sold 6.1 million houses as an industry. And I'm specific to the United States because the rest of the world typically follows. And last year we sold 5 million. And this year we're projecting anywhere from 3.9 to 4.2, again, devoid of any drastic government intervention. And so when you think about the percentage of drop, so we have more agents than we had in 2021 and 33% less units. We're still a units economic business model, no matter how you operate in real estate, whatever you do. So when you have a 33% drop in sales and widgets that you sell, you're going to feel it somewhere. There's more pressure. Now, that the reason, if you go back to the reason that you haven't seen a more significant drop in real estate agent count, remember the amount of real estate agents will follow the amount of commission dollars to be earned. People have to make a living at this. And because of the rapid rising values of homes, most people haven't noticed it yet. And I think that's what's going to show up this year. And I'm not predicting some big, none of us know is the true answer, because again, there's a lot of variables, but I'm not predicting a big giant drop in values. I think there could be some bit of a correction, but all the people thinking there's going to be a 50%, I'm just waiting to buy that 50% real estate. I don't see it. In fact, if you study this industry the way that we do, home prices have appreciated at 4% since the beginning of time. And we were below that 4% line for 13 years. So what felt like normal to us, we didn't actually cross back over the 4% line until November of 2021. So now we're about 12%, maybe we've dropped a little bit, maybe 10% above that 4% line. So there's only two things that are going to happen. Either we're going to drop 10% and get right back on the 4% line. We may dip a little below that, or in a couple, we'll stay flat until the 4% line catches up to where we are today. But I don't see a massive drop. I think there's too many other pressures causing, I'll give you one example of that, but there's lots of them. There are 5 million more millennial buyers at peak buying age today than there were Gen Xers like me in 2008. And so we don't have enough housing. And on top of that, we don't have enough affordable housing. So their stat that haunts me, because I have a 18, about to be 19-year-old stepson, is that 49% of 18 to, I think it's 18 to 29-year-olds, 18 to 24-year-olds, you have to look it up, still live at home. So half of our adult children are living at home, and it makes sense why the ADU business, the additional dwelling unit business model is flying off the shelves right now. It's why so many kids are staying in college a little longer. It's all of those factors together, but the demand for housing is greater than the supply. And when that happens, the pressure to keep prices high that's the key indicator, which will keep those values up. Why does that matter? Because if the average agent in our industry sells 3 houses next year, which would be that would be the average, right? If you took 4.2 million divided by the 1.4 million, we think there'll be that there's 3 houses to sell. Well, the good news is you can take that times the average sales price and still do okay if you're extremely average. The truth is that you and I know is that 20% of the realtors are going to do 80% of the business. So there's going to be a lot of people who aren't making a living doing this, and I think you're going to see companies that either become the safe harbor to run to, or the company that people run from. And with all the frothiness and the recruiting back and forth that especially over the last several years, agent count still has to be a metric that you look at. And it's more of a measure of who are you able to train up and create value enough for that they can actually make a living doing this. That's really what that metric means to me.
I'm going to come back to this topic of agent count. Like, why is agent count the North Star? Like, if you really have 20% of the agents doing 80% of the business, and there really is not an average agent. There's a median agent, and it doesn't look. It's not 3 transactions a year. Why does the business model not emphasize making the 20% as productive as possible, and instead of having a large agent count? What happens in different cycles where the agent count becomes such an important driver of long-term success?
Well, number one is this is still a relationship business. You're still a personal relationship fiduciary in the transaction. And so the more agents you have, the more spheres of influence you have is the way that I think about that. And, not to go down the rabbit hole of brands and branding and marketing, but we are a company that stands behind the agent. You won't see us advertising on a Super Bowl because it's not about the company. It's about the agent. It's about their sphere of influence. And so if you believe, I can also tell you that the number one correlative to brokerage profit is agent count. And so until that changes, and keep in mind in most companies, and we were kind of the company that pioneered this, but we came up with a better split model for the real estate agent, which now today almost everyone has adopted. So if you have what we would call a 100% model, meaning you can pay a certain amount to your broker and then be at 100% for the rest of your fiscal year, then you're kind of capped in what your top line revenue can be. And so agent count still matters for the broker to be profitable. And I would argue without the brokerage, the agents don't really have beneficial protection and against broker liability and things like that. And there's a huge value to the brokerage in our industry to help the agents provide the training to do those, all the things that we agents don't want to do. Right. And I think that the challenge there, Clayton, is that the brokerage model has become, kind of a commodity in good times, where literally you'll have agents say things like, I'm going to find the place I can pay the least to be in that brokerage so that I can go spend all this money on my tech platform or whatever the case is. And we believe that could be a little bit misguided, right? It's one of the reasons, and we don't have to go down this long road, but it's one of the reasons we developed our own technology so that agents could have the best of all worlds. You could have the best technology and the best brokerage model.
Yeah. So I want to come back to technology, Marc, but here I am like pressing on the strategy questions of increasing agent count, but the numbers do speak for themselves. So we'll give the audience a little bit of a preview of the RealTrends rankings data, which I think is, like I said earlier, is dropping the day after this episode drops. So I love it when our data lines up with the metrics that you shared earlier on and in your talking points. All right, everybody, can we get a drum roll on Keller Williams numbers for the RealTrends rankings? Over 1 million sides. That's over 425 billion in volume is what we're going to be releasing in these RealTrends numbers. Keller Williams, number 1 by sides and number 1 by volume. Pretty phenomenal. So we cut these rankings a lot of different ways. We'll look at the largest single brokerage by volume, largest single brokerage by sides. And then we also look at the largest national network, and Keller's in this national network category. with all of the franchises rolling up into Keller's national network, and that produces this number one by sides and number one by volume by a pretty big landslide, Mark. I mean, it's phenomenal the scale that you and your team have achieved through this strategy.
It's humbling, and thank you for saying all those things. It's probably more in spite of me and my leadership than because of it. And I would tell you that I'm just humbled to be a part of that. Or I have my own brokerage offices, right? I grew up in this business. I learned how to be an agent from Gary Keller. And so what he has built is absolutely unbelievable, but we don't take any credit for it. It is a testament to all of the amazing people in our organization. And it's a testament to the leaders we have in the field. And so none of us, I remind people all the time, and we had another one of your competitors kind of misquote me in the press one day, but the last class I taught in a market center was called "Someone Has to Sell a Damn House." And the reason for that is the industry's gotten so interesting and frothy of let's focus on, let's build a team, or let's go get some, profit share, rev share, or let's go do stock, or let's do all these things that have nothing to do with the core tenets of being an amazing real estate agent, which is the place we've never left. Right. It's the foundation of our company is, again, personal development. So I think all of those results are great. But we're honestly not playing a game here where we care who won last year. We're trying to play the infinite game, to quote Simon Sinek, and keep the industry strong and thriving and help protect those real estate agents. So thank you for saying all that. We still have a lot of growth to do.
I can kind of sense through this conversation that you kind of approach the business through kind of an abundance mindset and a viewpoint that if we can all grow the pie and create a more sustainable and efficient housing ecosystem, that we all win. I know, and I kind of quipped that one of our competitors misquotes you. I don't even think about our other folks who create content or do data in housing as competitors. I mean, I look at it as an ecosystem play, and we can all make each other stronger. And I love that my team competes like tooth and nail with the perceived competition. Yep. Kind of at the ownership level, all great people that I think we can all make each other stronger. And I kind of feel like you kind of look at some of the leadership of your competitors, even if they have different focus areas in a similar way.
Yep. I think that's spot on. And I think the what causes that mindset and what this company did, again, it sounds like it sounds a little airy-fairy, but Keller Williams is not about what you get. It's not about the benefits and features. It's about who you become. And for me personally, and many people like me, we created wealth here. We created passive income here. And the reason we're so heavily focused on building wealth building is so that when we go through times like this, which we're going to go through again, I plan on being a lifer in this business. So I expect to go through 3 or 4 more of these downturns. But if your passive income is more than your business expenses and your personal expenses, you make different decisions in your business every day, and you truly can be the best fiduciary for your clients versus kind of that sense of desperation and some of the things that go on in the industry. So I think it all goes hand in hand. It's an entire, we coach to the whole person. It's an entire person development kind of company.
Yeah. And if you're, as an individual agent or as a business, if you're not able to build wealth in the good times, then you do act from that point of desperation. And when times are tougher, you're going through an evolutionary phase, like I think this industry is doing right now, you don't have the resources to invest in technology and more efficient processes and data and tools that make you a better advisor to clients. So let's use that as a bridge to talk about the Keller Williams approach to technology and the approach to building or partnering or acquiring solutions that help your brokerages and agents be as impactful as possible and build wealth.
Yeah. I can't give you all of our secrets. I don't even know what's a secret anymore. We're so open about all this stuff, but I will tell you that, what sits on my desk every day is this book with a red cover on it. And if you'll notice, this is my 13th copy. I wear the covers off of this because this book is still as relevant as it was 20 years ago when it was first printed. And it's basically a reverse engineered, if you want to go earn $1 million a year in real estate. Here's exactly how you do it step by step. And if you think of our technology is the software that goes along with this hardware. And so our core fundamental belief is that you own and control your data, your sphere of influence. You are the product. So I'm not sure how you, the agent, can be the product, but outsource all of your data mining, your data collection, your contact management system. I don't know how you can give all your data to somebody else and then say you're still the product. And so if you understand that perspective, then it's simple to see why we have this $1 billion spend on our technology. And because of our size and scale, we're one of the few that can actually do this. And it's an entire platform. I know there's other companies that kind of waited in and waited out and did all that. I mean, everybody's had to make their own decision. But this company will not outsource what we think is the most important thing, and that is relationships. And so that's, even though the industry has done that, and you have, aggregators like realtor.com and Zillow and several others. And, God bless them, because they have businesses, and I'll be sitting across the table from a single mother, and her only deal came in this month from realtor.com, and she's paying them a 38% referral fee. And I'm happy that she has that business. I'm great with that. I just hope that she's also building a database so that at some point in the future, she won't rely on something that takes that much of her commission, right? So that said, our technology strategy is very simple, and that is to protect the real estate agent. And so if you think about from that lens, if I have my own database, if I'm the only one marketing to it, if I'm the only one communicating with it, then, and I don't have some outsider selling my data, then I have an advantage in this industry. And I can kind of be that fiduciary at the highest level.